I think so. I think it is our responsibility to read, um, research, look for evidence-based information instead of taking a three-line headline and saying, oh, yes, that's a fact. I think we need to ask questions. Really? Why? When? What? Where? And only then can we scratch under the surface.
Mm-hmm. All right. So yeah, we are live. And yeah, tell me, how are you today?
Good, thank you, except it is pouring down with rain. So me and my dog are a little bit confined to the house.
Mm. Okay. So now how much does it usually last?
I think it's going to rain all day today.
Mm.
It doesn't stop us going out completely, but um, we do get a little bit soggy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I see. I see. Sometimes in Turkey it happens as well. And that's the worst actually. When it's raining in Turkey, humidity rises and it means that it's getting very, very cold.
Yes. Yes, it's not too cold here today, but I have chickens, so I need to go out and take care of them, and my dog needs to be walked, and I need to bring in wood for my fire. So I'm in, I'm out, and every time I come in, I bring a little bit of wet with me. So does my dog, who dries himself along the side of my sofa.
Uh-huh. Okay, yeah, I see. Do you have a fireplace? Do you have a chimney?
I do. Yes, it's my only source of heating. I heat my house
Mm.
with a log burner.
Ah, okay. Yeah, do you store it safely from the rain?
I have some stored in a shed in the garden and some stored just in a log holder.
Mm.
And I try to keep maybe 2 days supply in the house to let it air before I burn it. So it's usually pretty dry.
Okay. It must be great to live in nature.
Yes, well, sometimes I live in a very unusual house because my house is made of straw.
Mm.
It is straw bales that are surplus from the harvesting of wheat.
Mm.
They make up my walls. So the walls are very thick and my house is very well insulated. So when I put on my log burner, it keeps the heat in the house for a long time.
I heard of it before. Like it's basically like straws of wheat, am I right?
Mm, it's quite
Oh,
unusual,
yeah, it
but
is.
a more sustainable, more modern way to build a house that is environmentally friendly and uses what is essentially a waste product.
Well, this is great, and I think it's going to be a great segue to our topic today of
Yeah.
not so environmentally friendly materials that we're using every day. So well, today we will be discussing an article that I will put in the description, but I will put everybody in the picture. This is an article about UK exporting plastic to other countries, and it causes environmental threats because those countries don't treat this plastic well. So usually it just gets just sinked in the soil or just get burnt, and which is not ideal way to deal with it. to recycle it. And yeah, it's pretty curious article. I didn't know about that. I heard though that I don't remember. It's probably Norway that buys plastic from other countries in order to recycle it effectively. So to me, it's kind of uh, it's very surprising that UK doesn't sell this plastic to Norway, and instead it relocates this plastic to other countries that are not as good or not good at all with dealing with this plastic. So, why do you think the UK government doesn't endorse selling plastic to Norway, for example? So, what do you think is the reason for that?
I suspect the reason for most of these difficulties, it comes down to finance. Um, Everybody is looking for a cheap way to do this and do that. And maybe now, because we all feel maybe a bit more under pressure financially, it seems like we can forego our responsibility to the planet and feel that it isn't so important to think carefully about these issues. I think, as it said in the article, it is a great way for a country that uses a lot of plastic to give away its responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
The UK says, oh, we're sending it to you. Bye bye. That's it. We're finished with it,
Mm-hmm.
without taking due care on what happens to it after it's left our shores. And I suspect it's purely financial, that if there was a will, then of course we could build our own centres for dealing with plastics and other materials. But if there is no will from the government or even from the people, then it will follow the easy route.
Yeah, yeah. I think in the heat of the financial struggle that we all are facing right now, people tend to forget about other threats. And yeah, I think that's an easy that might be just an easy solution. But yeah, also in this article, it's written that for example, closing this whole procedure of exporting plastic might motivate companies to be more environmentally friendly. And but yeah, I think this might help, although it might cause serious danger to the environment of the UK itself.
But but I think we are not seeing the big picture. For me, it is not about how do we dispose of plastic. It should be about let's find ways to stop making so much and using so much. Let's use our innovation, let's use our talent and find better ways to store food, to manufacture things. We don't have to use single use plastic. We can find other materials. And I think any company that uses single use plastic should be made responsible for its disposable. If you cannot
Hmm.
see a clear way forward to dispose of it, then don't make it, don't use it. It is about taking responsibility for what we use as consumers and what manufacturers produce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I also know that there are actually existing technologies that allow plastic to be recycled properly. For example, I've heard of plastic. of microorganisms that can eat plastic, that can consume plastic. So that might be the future. But the problem, yes, I think the thing that creates the most problem is just this plastic that we use every day, and that we don't use after. So just
Yes.
that we just use and throw away, like plastic bags, like cups, and this is something that we can totally live without. For example, we
Mm.
just can take a canvas bag, go into the
Yes.
shop.
Sure.
So
And
yeah.
the way that we wrap food and other sorry, my dog's just got something to
No, no, I
say
have
on
no
the
problem with that. It's adorable. I like animals.
Well, I cannot even sit on the chair I usually sit on because he got there first about an hour ago
Hmm.
and made himself very comfortable. And when I wanted him to move, he put his big sad eyes on. So
It must
I
be disheartening.
it's terrible. I'm such a cruel dog parent. um, we wrap many things in plastic that we could use other materials. I agree that plastic that is used over and over again, we'll never live without that. It's too useful. It has incredible purpose. And I don't think we're ready to take that big step. But I think the single-use plastic, we could find alternatives. I buy vegetables from an organic vegetable producer. And sometimes things do need to be wrapped. Very often things are just loose in a box. But if something needs to be wrapped, they use a material. It looks exactly like plastic. It's clear, it's crinkly, it's waterproof. However, I can put it in my garden compost and it will break down into the soil. So the technology is there, it's possible, but I suspect it's just more expensive to produce. So a manufacturer has to take a gamble. Shall I use this, add the price on to the consumer, and run the risk that they will buy a cheaper product that's wrapped in cheaper material? So I think articles like this are so important to raise awareness. If we don't know about these problems, we are not likely to change our habits. And like many people, I toss my plastic into the recycling, and it makes me feel good thinking, oh, I'm a good recycler, my plastic goes off and all will be well. So if we don't know about our exports of plastic, or that much of it gets dumped into the middle of the sea or is left in huge piles in other countries, then I guess we will carry on thinking we are doing the right thing. So for me, it's about education.
Yes, for sure, for sure. I couldn't agree less with that. That awareness is very important. Though I think this risk that you told about, that companies put themselves into, I think that might be the cause of the whole financial situation, because we see a lot of lays off right now, solely because companies cannot afford to continue doing their stuff. And I think for some, yes, it might be just sink or swim situation, so they just have to do that regardless of the future consequences. So I think that's so interconnected, and the world right now is so interconnected that it's very hard to pinpoint the direct cause of this whole environmental problems, because yeah, And also, for example, let's take some other materials that we can use as a single-use items. For example, let's take cups. Let's take plastic cups. So what do we usually use instead of plastic cups here? We usually use some kind of cardboard, right? Very dense cardboard that can withhold water. But in this situation, we're using another resource. We're using trees, like that is very hardly renewable resource. And in some cases, plastic can actually substitute those materials better. So I think that's double-edged sword. So that's very intricate question. And yeah, it's very important to see the whole picture. But on the other hand, I don't want to endorse using single-use plastic when it's absolutely unnecessary. For example, just asking a plastic bag when you go to the grocery. I think this is something that we can live without.
And I think you talk about cups. Should we use cardboard cups or plastic cups? Do we need to use either? Could we not carry around with us a cup that we can take home and wash if we think we are going to need to buy a takeout coffee?
Mm-hmm.
This whole coffee culture has grown in the last decade, maybe two. When I was growing up, if you went out for a coffee, you went into a cafe and you ordered a coffee, you sat down and you drank it. But now we want to drink them going down the street or when we're driving or when we're shopping. And something has changed, which has led to the problem of disposable cups. So perhaps we have to go back further, not think about how shall we dispose of these things, but why are we using them? Why do we even think it's so important to produce them in vast quantities?
Mm-hmm.
I think you made a very good point about being interconnected. We have always been interconnected. We are interdependent. We need one another. We need our planet. We need animals. We need other people. And most of us know that. And most of us feel a responsibility to ensuring that that continues. But then we seem to have a different part of our brain that wants life to be comfortable and convenient, and we quickly forget about our responsibility when we are rushing to the shops because we have to go to work, and so we grab a coffee or we grab a plastic bag or whatever it is that we do. And I think the principles of being aware of the environment need to be much more ingrained in our day-to-day life.
Yeah, and I think we're making some steps. We're actually improving on it because I think like around 20 years ago, the awareness was just I wouldn't say non-existent, but not that many people thought about just even what they throw into the trash, and yeah, nobody I think had this guilt of not taking canvas bag with them instead of buying a plastic one. So, and yeah, actually talking about coffee, it's a great thought to propose that people that actually don't have to just stroll with the, or rather just, I don't know, just run with the coffee cups because because it's convenient, and convenience might be dangerous. People just sacrifice long-term safety for just convenience, and they're
I think the growth as well of some of these big companies, if you think how supermarkets have taken over the way we shop. And the big coffee chains now dominate all of our high streets. And their very clever marketing encourage us to join this coffee culture. I think that we can't live without that little cup of coffee in our hands, and the choice of coffees and what it means to our status and our what we know about coffee. About maybe 20, 30 years ago, you just went and had a coffee.
Yeah.
And now it has turned into some kind of cult where we are encouraged to take part in this. And that's the power of marketing. That's big business using their power and influence to get us to change our habits. So for me, it is about how easy it is to influence us, how easy it is to get us into those new habits. So if governments decided to get our habits changed in a different way, to be more thoughtful, to be more aware, they could do that too, if they wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, about this cult of coffee again, yeah, it reminds me of this kind of corporate desire to, for example, you've got a concept, you've got very simple concept of just drinking a coffee, very simple activity, but big corporations want to just milk this concept dry. So they just don't want everybody to have coffee. They want to persuade other people who didn't want to buy this coffee before to buy this coffee, and that's pretty scary. I think that's that influence and power that they have over people's mind, and I think that's whole consumerism machine that cannot simply stop. So companies just cannot stop growing, because when they stop growing, they will start to die out. So, and I think maybe as a how do I put it? As a benevolent business owner, probably one should know where to stop, where to stop growing. For example, you've got a local shop, but in order to grow bigger, you need to sacrifice quality for the number of people that you can provide services to. And probably that's where you should really raise the question if I should do that, if it's gonna harm the, I don't know, other people or my old consumers. So yeah, I hope I've been clear here.
Yes, you have, and I think, but that's the difference in that if you have a local shop, you are more likely to have a conscience. You are more likely to feel connected to your customers and perhaps display your own values. That if you care about your customers or about the environment, you are more likely to embed that in your business. But a big corporate company doesn't have that direct contact with its customers, and they are able to hide and not show their own personal values and not perhaps take responsibility for what their customers are thinking or feeling. And for me, that is the problem. We have lost that essence of connection with each other when we deal with a large corporate company. And I don't want to blame them for all the world's ills, but it is them that have the power. It is them that have the influence. And for me, that's very worrying that with the onset now of social media, they're power grows more and more because they can influence more people. But I'm
Yeah.
getting a little political.
Well, but it is a political topic, isn't it?
Yes, maybe.
So yeah, and I think people nowadays are very afraid of talking about politics, which I think they should talk more about. People don't like to talk about politics because it requires a lot of effort. It's not like your daily activities that don't matter as much, and maybe your opinion here matters a lot because it is very impactful. It's our life as a whole, if you think about it. And yeah, and I think environmental problems should be political because only together we can deal with it in one way or another. And those topics I should be discussed, and those big corporations should be put under scrutiny as well. And I want to talk more also about the advertisement campaigns that have changed accordingly to people's demand for environmentally friendly activities. I don't know, like culture. So, and they want to persuade us that the products that they sell are environmentally friendly, although it's not always the truth. They just like to put different words, different buzzwords like eco-friendly or green or natural, more. And sometimes they just stand near some words that have nothing to do with natural or eco-friendly, but just because they have a green leaf on the packaging, people tend to believe that they do better for the environment just by buying this product. So, and again,
Absolutely.
here I
I,
think we come to the topic of bringing awareness. So we should we should be aware of the strategies and tactics that corporations use, and should not be deceived by them.
Absolutely. There's a whole industry built around what they call greenwashing. PR companies that are employed specifically to show a company's green ethics when they may or may not exist.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I think being educated on those topics very require to understand the whole picture rather than just certain narrow topic of just waste management and I don't know, marketing. So that's why I think it is political, because it entails just the many topics that people should be not proficient, but at least knowledgeable about.
I think so. I think it is our responsibility to read, research, look for evidence-based information instead of taking a three-line headline and saying, oh, yes, that's a fact. I think we need to ask questions. Really? Why? When? What? Where? And only then can we scratch under the surface.
Yeah, exactly. All right then. So I think that was a great conclusion to our conversation.
It was lovely
So,
to speak with you
yes,
again.
likewise.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Yeah, take care.
See you soon.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good one.
Bye.